Good. Good evening. This is the Village Council Public Workshop. The date is May 6, 2026. The time is 7:34 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. A notice of this meeting was also posted at ridgewoodnj.net. Roll call.
Councilmember Mortimer.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Perrin.
Here.
Councilmember Whites is not yet present. Councilmember Winograd.
Here.
Mayor Vagianos.
Here. Will you all please join us in a salute to our flag? And let's go right to public comment.
Good evening, Ann Loving, Ridgewood resident. I just wanted to thank Mr. Kasmark. The third mirror is up in the tunnel, perfectly placed. Thank you. It's just great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ann.
Carol Maloney, I'm a Ridgewood resident and I'm a senior citizen, and I was asked by Deanna Shablik to please represent some of the people at Hilt to say, I understand you're talking about a senior parking something today.
Pass.
Whatever. Thank you. And I'd just like to say, if you would consider our ages, how we need canes to get around. We want to be able to go downtown and park and enjoy. We're there between 9:15 and maybe 1:30, so we wouldn't take anybody else's parking space because you're all at work or everybody else is at school. We just want to be able to go down and not have to find a kiosk and then to have to try. I always can't. The glare is too much. I can find so many excuses, and I don't mean to. But I hope that you all vote in favor of this senior parking permit for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
David Fine. I live on Woodbine Court. I'm the rabbi at Temple Israel on Grove Street. I understand that council is considering or looking into amending aspect of the zoning ordinance that affects houses of worship, with giving more latitude for us to look for third-party tenants. Our interest is in terms of helping us to survive in difficult times. It's often a needed, essential source of revenue for the houses of worship. Also allows us to bring in third parties that can help us do the work that we do, whether it's a preschool and providing space for young children, whether it's adult programming, senior programming, educational or social. So feel that the greater latitude we could have to facilitate that process would certainly be would help us, and we believe would be in the interest of the village as well. So we're grateful for the attention there.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. Tom Matthews, Father Tom at Christ Episcopal. Just want to express my appreciation, as my colleague just did, for the effort that the council is undertaking to clarify the zoning in a way that reflects how houses of worship of really all shapes and sizes continue to serve communities like Ridgewood today. Houses of worship have long been places where people gather not simply for services once a week, but rather as places where people gather, support families, encourage education, outreach, and of course create spaces where community life can flourish. At a time, as you know, when loneliness and isolation have become growing concerns across our society, places that bring people out of their homes and the isolation that is so much a pandemic of today, out into a real community, matter now more than ever. And so I appreciate especially your ability to provide some clarity and guidance around educational and related community uses. Early in my ministry, earlier than I like to admit, someone once told me that there's nothing sadder than a house of worship that sits empty between weekly services. And I've never forgotten that. These spaces, after all, are at their best when they are active, welcoming, and filled with community life. Filled with learning, service, and of course, connection. In many ways, the effort that you are undertaking recognizes the constructive role that faith communities continue to play in village life and helps to align the ordinance with those realities. These kinds of flexible, broad community and educational uses also help long-standing houses of worship, like David's and mine and so many others, remain active, well-maintained, and accessible as gathering places that continue serving the broader village of Ridgewood. So thank you once again for your thoughtful work and service.
Thank you, Father.
Cynthia O'Keefe, Ridgewood resident. So I have been here many times to talk about artificial turf and the health hazards that it, brings to communities, especially ours, because, honestly, I don't know if there are artificial turf fields next to private well water. I'm going to have to do some research. I don't believe there are in the state of New Jersey. But what I find interesting is that I still haven't heard any, rationale. I've just heard that this council disagrees. We've got a member of Green Ridgewood here. We have some clergy here. And, I have been praying to the dear Lord that you guys will change your minds. I mentioned a few things, in past instances where, I really consider it willful blindness or willful negligence, because that microplastic pollution is a thing. It's real. Our own deputy mayor has talked about artificial turf being a fossil fuel product, and that no artificial, turf vendor will contractually guarantee the absence of the chemicals and the PFAS. And you're talking about putting it literally feet from private well water. We are not on municipal water. We are on private wells that we depend on for our health and our safety. It's our water source. It's our clean water source. And so I think it's willfully negligent. You know what you're doing. You're going to pretend that it's all okay. And then maybe you'll write a proclamation or a memoriam for one of us if we do get cancer and die, or something horrible happens. Maybe we'll get another disease. I don't think you can sit here as a council, mayor and council, and talk about Green Ridgewood and how healthy and getting these grants and how wonderful we are. We did the Daffodil Festival. It's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. Isn't that a saying that we learned when we were very little? I'm also a senior, and I heard you mention you were a senior as well, and I'd like to live to a ripe old age. But I can't do that if you're going to put impediments in our way, and I'm fighting for my neighborhood. I've been here probably to several hundred meetings speaking to all of you, and you may not answer back, and that's fine. But I do pray that you will change your mind, because what you're doing is negligent. It's grossly negligent. And to say, oh, well, we voted on it, so that's, it's already done, you can change your mind at any time. So I put on record that I respectfully ask you to change your mind about artificial turf next to private well water in Ridgewood on the Shedler property. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Anyone else? Seeing no one, we'll go to hybrid access. Rurik, you're up.
Hi, Paul, do you hear me?
We do.
Good. I read a statistic somewhere
Would you just identify
where
yourself?
Yeah.
Rurik Halaby, village resident.
Thank you.
I read a statistic somewhere where an average grass field is used 800 hours a year, and the rest of the time it is done for maintenance, where you apply all sorts of chemicals and fertilizers that truly could pollute the groundwater, etc. While a artificial turf field is used on average 3,000 hours a year. So you're having a quadrupling of the amount of time that artificial turf fields are used, which means that so many more hours of people getting their exercise, people of all ages, young people, middle-aged people, and older people. So factor in the healthfulness of the use of the field, and I think it'll more than counteract any disadvantages to the use of artificial turf. Secondly, once and for all, please stop using well water as an excuse not to have an artificial turf, because if you're on 17, there's a good chance your well water is polluted anyway with the runoff on 17, especially if you're anywhere close to a business that uses chemicals, etc. Now, there's a very easy solution for well water. We have Ridgewood Water. Pick up the phone and call Rich Calby. I'm sure he will, I can't talk for Rich, but I'm sure he will do more than come up with a plan that makes sense for the Ridgewood Water and for the people who convert. So this idea of fear-mongering about well water is just ridiculous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rurik. Amy, you're up.
I just want to note that Councilmember White has arrived at the meeting.
Thank you.
Apologies for being late.
All good. Amy.
Amy McCambridge, Ridgewood residents. Normally I'm working, I got a new job, not with the Maroons, but with an amazing club whose girls soccer team actually won counties, sectionals, and states. And most of them are multi-sport athletes. We use grass fields. It's pretty incredible what's happening there. I do want to talk about, I mean, you have like a priest, I believe there, you have Green Ridgewood there. I want to ask them, like, did you think, like, in your priesthood or, what, you know, I don't know what you do specifically, but was it in God's plan for us to mess up and pollute and contaminate what God gave us? He gave us land, he gave us trees, he gave us water. Is it, and all of you sitting there on the council, are you godly people? I believe you are, or whatever you believe in. Do you think that this is okay? Was this part of God's plan to put in artificial turf? We're supposed to live in a balance of life with all species, with all nature. This is not fear-mongering. This is real. What legacy are you guys leaving behind? Green Ridgewood, what legacy are you leaving behind? Not questioning this, like crazy questioning this. You are going to wipe away, you know, you talk about the well water, and Rudolph, or whatever his name is, was just talking about, you know, the contaminants off 17. Well, now you're taking away the natural air filtration system that's written in the Ridgewood Master Plan to allow more, you know, pollution to just come flooding through. And it's not okay. And again, what legacy are you leaving to these kids? If these kids knew how many, like thousands of species will die, the bats that eat thousands of mosquitoes, every species from the ant to the worm to the trees have their purpose. And you are putting us and disconnecting our youth and our communities from that purpose for youth sports. And still to this day, I don't think any of you have contacted a natural fields expert. I can tell you, in the town I work with, the fields are immaculate. They're immaculate. The pressure is not there, and these athletes are doing far better than Ridgewood's athletes, if that's what it comes down to. I'm a professional soccer trainer. What we're doing to these kids on their joints, let alone the impact of, when it's heat and what happens when that heat leaches off the field and they're breathing in. We still don't know what's happening. But if these kids knew, if they knew that you are taking away habitat from those deers, from all the living life that they probably love, I don't think they would agree with you. I have young
Time
groups,
is up.
All right. Last comment is, to Ms. Winograd. I want to invite you to my rescue to see what I do, since you had a problem with it, and I'll end with that.
Thank you, Amy. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment, and we'll go right to our managers. Oh, excuse me. I do this every time. I apologize. Would anybody like to respond to any of the commenters this evening? No? I have one comment for Father Matthews and Rabbi Fine. For those of you who are unfamiliar, they're the ordinance working group that Pam and I are members of. We work with staff, our attorney, our manager, planners, and we have been discussing a tweak to an ordinance that would allow houses of worship, just so you understand why they came tonight, that would allow houses of worship to utilize private vendors to do those services that they are currently allowed to do themselves. So, for example, they can run a nursery school, but they can't lease the facility out to a nursery school. They can do an adult daycare center, but they can't lease it out. And so this ordinance that we are reviewing that has not yet made it to the council, but that we are working on now, would change that to allow houses of worship to be able to do this, which would supplement their income, because they want to do these, as Father Matthews said, these good works for the community, but they don't necessarily have the bandwidth to run different things in there. So that's just to put it all in context. That's it. Anybody else? No? All good? Then we'll go to our manager report. Keith.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things to report out tonight and some announcements. First, I want to thank all of our village staff, especially our directors and supervisors in the blue-collar space. And I especially want to thank Heather and Jennifer in the clerk's office. Last week, we received for the first time in anyone's recollection the Platinum Safety Award from the Bergen Joint Insurance Fund. Traditionally, Ridgewood has received the Gold Award, but through the efforts of increased safety training, online training opportunities that our employees have taken advantage of over the last year, this is the first year that we've reached that elite level. It also has an effect on our insurance premiums through the Bergen JIF. So I just want to thank all of our employees for participating, all of our directors and supervisors for enacting this training to make sure that not only our employees are safe, but by extension that the public remains safe. I want to congratulate RBSA on a tremendous opening day. They were battling some inclement weather that morning, but the parade and the festivities here at Vets Field went off without a hitch. So I want to congratulate Scott Muller and the more than 100 teams that participate in RBSA here in Ridgewood. 2 Fridays ago, I had the opportunity to attend a conference at New Jersey Institute of Technology, where both Mayor Vagianos and our Director of Ridgewood Water, Rich Calby, spoke to a group about treating PFAS and about the progress that we've made here in Ridgewood in effectuating proper treatment and building out the necessary facilities. As most in this room know, we're spending $150 million on PFAS treatment, and by this time next year, we'll be able to proudly say that all of the water that is being delivered to all 4 communities that Ridgewood Water services will be properly treated for PFAS. The mayor talked a lot about our ability to go and secure federal monies, along with state appropriations through Assemblywoman Lisa Swain last year to offset the cost, to offset that $150 million investment. And then Rich shared his expertise, his technical expertise, with the group assembled on the initiatives here in Ridgewood. I want to also thank and congratulate the Ridgewood Recreation Department, along with Green Ridgewood, on sponsoring a wonderful Daffodil Festival and Earth Day Fair. Apparently, the turnout was the largest we can remember, and the weather was very cooperative because it was a little dicey going into the day. But great job, great community event down at Van Ness Square. Just to update the community on the Shedler project, we started to remove dirt yesterday. Everything went off relatively smoothly. We had multiple trucks through the site. The police department is monitoring the situation. We had representatives from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection who will be on site for the duration of the project, in addition to representatives from Matrix New World Engineering, which is our environmental firm who has done all of the testing, the delineation, and everything that's required to come up with the plan to abate removing the soil that's in need of remediation at the site. Tomorrow, we will have additional dirt removed. We're going to double the amount of trucks tomorrow. We eased in to the rotation to make sure that we had enough space. They're staging further south on Route 17. They'll be able to access the site. By the end of the day tomorrow, they'll be able to do a complete turnaround without having to back in and out of the site, and the police will regulate all access to the site by any of the dump trucks that come onto the property. I just want to update everyone on our grants for 2026. As you know, it's the beginning of May, and already this year, the Village of Ridgewood has been awarded $1,235,000 in grant money, primarily for lead service line replacements at Ridgewood Water, but also for water and sewer improvements through the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs legislative appropriation process. And we also have a technical assistance grant for energy efficiency here in the municipality. Even more importantly are the grants that are pending that have been written in the first quarter of 2026 that total over $5.6 million in pending awards.
How much was that?
$5.6 million.
I just love hearing that come out of your mouth. That's fantastic.
So we get a report every month. We tallied it up and did the math, but I think it's worth noting for the public that we are aggressively pursuing every source of funding possible to offset the burden on our taxpayers here at Ridgewood. I also want to give a shout out to the Ridgewood Fire Department. Yesterday morning, I was actually coming in early to head over to Shedler as we were starting that project, and there was a report of a working house fire over in the lawns. I want to thank Chief Judge and his crew for their quick action. I also want to thank a neighbor who saw smoke coming from the house. But most importantly, and this really is a public service announcement, 4 lives were saved in that house yesterday morning because of working smoke alarms. And Carol Balkowski, our communications director, and I had a conversation today. That is actually going to be our lead item in our newsletter that goes out on Friday. It is so important that we have active smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors in our homes to be able to prevent tragedy. But through the efforts of a lot of quick thinking yesterday morning, both life and property were saved. The village launched its downtown parking survey this week. If you are frequenting the central business district, whether you live there, whether you work there, or whether you visit there, we are asking everyone to take part in filling out this survey. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to complete. You can find the survey on the village website, as well as links from our social media pages and our My Ridgewood app. The survey closes on Friday, May 22nd. We encourage everyone who lives or owns a business to participate in this. All this information will be culled, gathered, and shared with Walker, who is our consulting firm who is doing a comprehensive downtown Ridgewood parking review and study. We also recently announced that the Motor Vehicle Commission mobile unit will be here in the Village Hall parking lot on May 28th. All New Jersey residents, not just Ridgewood residents, can begin scheduling appointments tomorrow, May 7th at 11 a.m. These services include real ID licenses, license plate returns, registration transfers, registration renewals, and replacement titles and registrations. Online registration for Graydon Pool and the tennis and pickleball courts began on April 1st. You can still register through Community Pass, and pool badges can be picked up on Saturday, May 9th, or May 16th from 10 to 12 at the Graydon Pool office. As a reminder, the 2-day per week irrigation schedule is in effect. Odd-numbered addresses for irrigation are Tuesday and Saturday. Even-numbered addresses for irrigation are Wednesday and Sunday. The senior bus has expanded its services. Our new hours are 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday. If you have a medical appointment or need to go to the grocery store or want to stroll around the mall, call my office and speak to Beth Spinato at 201-670-5500, extension 2203, to make a reservation. The bus will be going to ShopRite in Wyckoff on Wednesdays weekly. The last day to register to vote for the primary election is this coming Tuesday, May 11th, at the Ridgewood Public Library. The lobby there will be, you'll be able to sign up to register to vote between 4:30 and 9 p.m. On that day after Village Hall closes. Before that, you can sign up in the clerk's office during regular business
Keith,
hours.
May 11th is a Monday.
May 12th. Did I say the 11th?
Yes.
My bad. May 12th, this Tuesday, 9 o'clock is the registration deadline. There will be a tree dedication for Ronald Fisher, who was fatally injured on the job 30 years ago. The tree dedication will be held on May 12th at 4 p.m. at Habernickel Park. The public is welcome to attend this dedication ceremony with the family. Touch a Truck Day will take place on Thursday, May 14th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Van Ness Square. Take a seat behind the wheel of a real police car, climb aboard a shiny fire truck, or explore up close the DPW fleet and other emergency vehicles here in the village. The Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce Spring Fling Sale Days will take place on Thursday, May 14th through Saturday, May 17th from 10 to 6 while businesses are open. Please come down and shop in the CBD. Project Pride Planting Day is Saturday, May 16th, begins at 7:45 with a rain date of Sunday, May 17th. The committee is looking for volunteers. It's a 2 to 3 hour commitment on that Saturday morning. Please contact Councilmember Winograd if you'd like to participate. And finally, upcoming village council meetings. May 13th is a public meeting. May 27th is a work session. June 3rd is a work session. June 10th is a public meeting. June 24th is a work session. All begin at 7:30 p.m. And at the May 13th meeting, it is anticipated that we will adopt the 2026 municipal budget. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. Let's go to our council reports. Frank?
With the Touch a Truck, Keith, is it limited to kids, or can council members go too?
Listen, you're the truck guy. Not only are you're the bee man, but you're the truck guy, so.
Okay. Yeah, I want to start by talking about the Daffodil Festival, because it was wonderful, and that's why Nancy Bigos is the director of Parks and Rec, because every year she brings sunshine. Last year I forgot to put in the request for no wind, and this year she delivered. So, and it's real, for me, it's such a great event. Since I've been doing this since 2012, participating there at Van Ness, and to see it grow every year is phenomenal. And then what's also great is just everyone's pretty much happy there, and it's just, it was packed. Like you said it correctly, Keith, but you still underestimated how it was packed. And we started a half an hour early, and there were people there from the very beginning to the very end, and it was just a wonderful event. And so I was really stoked. Now for my council reports. Parks and Rec met, and the important thing that I wanted to share is that the sunshades at Graydon Pool have been delivered. They're already installing them, so just got to get that checked out. And then also the playground and pavilion equipment at Kings Pond has been delivered. So it's just nice to see that moving along. And also on May 12th at 7 p.m. is an art reception at the library. The Older Americans Community Art Showcase, which will feature artists from around Ridgewood, will be there. And at 7 p.m. on the 12th is a reception for that. So I hope to see everybody there. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thanks, Frank. Siobhan?
Sure. So I have a couple announcements. So Access had a wonderful event at Puzo's. We're thankful to them and everybody who attended. And our next event is going to be at Parisa East. So for those of you who have never attended, Access runs a monthly dinner catering to the Access community, more so kids with sensory issues, neurodivergent kids, going out with their family. It's really, really hard. So we have partnered with Main Street. The restaurants take an off night, take the noise down, the staff becomes more familiar, and we have first responders there. elopement is a big issue for neurodivergent child, so the more that our police and fire know them, the better and stronger the community is. This will be our last dinner for this school year, so if anybody wants to attend, it's a wonderful event. It's beautiful. You get to meet a lot of your friends and your neighbors, and you get to see how a basic night out is a real treat for families with the kids who have neurodivergence issues.
Siobhan, what's the date of that? I missed
It's
it.
May 19th. It's
May
Tuesday,
19th.
yeah.
It just, Teresa East has amazing food, by the way.
We also have an access meeting coming up next week, and the deputy mayor is going to be running that, and we are going to be discussing activities for special needs community that as a social activity, and we're centering around the idea of possibly bowling. So if anybody's interested in that, those meetings are all on Zoom to make them very accessible, and because I will be attending a graduation, Pam will be running that. I wanted to let everybody know in the community that PG at the high school is running their, I think this is the 4th year, their signs. So our signal department, the first year that Evan and I took our seat, 100 street signs went missing, which caused a lot of chaos, right? Because no one knew where they were going. And it also created a really big expense. And we found out that it was sort of a high school prank to steal the signs. So we have partnered with PG, which is Project Graduation, and we sell the signs. And they're awesome, and you can contact the high school and Jamie Caridi. And I always say it's great because it benefits PG. It helps us keep our signs, sort of thwarts any theft, and it's now looking like it's a tradition, Evan, so we're very excited about that. I too wanted to thank Daffodil Fest, and I want to thank Green Ridgewood, Pam, and Frank. Obviously, Shade Tree had 2 tables. We gave away hundreds of whips. This year we potted them, and they went very, very well. People are very warm on the idea at Daffodil Fest of a flowering tree. So we were left with quite a few swamp oaks, but everybody who took the others was very happy. I just want to echo the sentiment that it's an awesome day, and we were really grateful to our students and the Shade Tree Commission who made it happen, and of course, my fellow council members. I also had the pleasure of attending College Club of North Jersey's author luncheon yesterday, where we heard Alka Joshi speak. It's wonderful, and there is an unsubstantiated, unfact check that Ridgewood, New Jersey may have the oldest book club in New Jersey, and I'm going to go with it and say that's a fact. But I want to thank College Club and the speaker. They've been benefiting local women and making college very affordable for hundreds and hundreds of women. It was an awesome speaker, and her next book out is called 6 Days in Bombay. We had a fields committee yesterday morning at 8 a.m. It was very, very productive. Keith already updated on RBSA. I do want to mention that this coming weekend is Ridgewood Lacrosse Day. It's slightly different, and we're grateful to our partners in lacrosse team because the scoreboard, all the donations, and they're very excited. We also discussed that on Memorial Day, if you're in town, it will be the annual Memorial Day run. If you're not a runner, you can walk it. If you're not into any of that, you can volunteer at it. And we had an update on our World Cup watch party. As many of you are aware, the World Cup is a big deal in the world, but it's a big deal in the state of New Jersey because MetLife Stadium exists here. And we are going to be hosting 2 World Cup watch parties, one in Van Ness Square, which will benefit the vendors, and that's very exciting. They're all Team USA, so they'll be later because the USA plays in California. And the other one will be out here on Vets Field to kick off the Father's Day tournament for the Maroons. And one more thing, I too just wanted to give a shout out. Yesterday, I was able to attend the site visit for Shedler since the remediation effort went. I do want to say it was very well coordinated. I'm very grateful to the people who've taken the time to factor many things in, and to our engineering, to our professional staff, and the police. If anybody should have any concerns during the remediation process, please reach out. We are taking them all seriously, and I just want to thank the outside vendors, Keith, and our professional staff for making that first step happen. And I think that's it.
Thanks, Siobhan. Evan?
Yeah, I'll be quick. So first, last Friday, I got to attend the Art Institute fundraiser with the mayor, who promptly stole my gig of being the guy that calls out the numbers. I've done it in previous years, but Paul usurped me. But more importantly, they made some money for a wonderful cause, which certainly is more important than my ego. I also got to attend the RBSA parade, got to present Scott Muller with a proclamation on behalf of this council celebrating the RBSA and thanking the RBSA for all they do for our kids. And then finally, I got to spend some quality time with Frank at Council Chat last Saturday. As many of you know, once a quarter, two of us hold residency in the room next door. We sit there for 2 hours. We hear from folks from the public who want to come in. I have to say, this is my third year and change here, and I've done it several times. Would love if more people would come out. Not that I didn't enjoy the conversation, Frank, but it's really a great opportunity to get the ear of at least two council people. We take copious notes, and we generally get a lot of stuff done, and hearing from the public is really a privilege. So the next time we do it, would encourage all of you to consider showing up.
Thanks, Ev. And by the way, they made more money when I was hosting it, so just saying. Pam.
Thanks. First, I want to thank our village attorney, Matt Rogers, for doing a park walk for the Open Space Committee at Dunham Trail a couple of weeks ago. It was very well attended, and Matt is a wealth of knowledge of everything that's there, and I really enjoyed it, so did my husband. Want to thank everybody who was involved with the Daffodil Festival Earth Day Fair. That's the Green Ridgewood Green Team, the Conservancy for Ridgewood Public Lands, and also the Parks Department and Project Interact, the high school kids who came and helped. And thank you for letting me lead the dog parade. That was really funny. Also, I wanted you to know that the 3 winners of the scavenger hunt did take possession of their prizes, which were an electric mower, an electric blower, and a rake with grass seed. And let's see. I think I've mentioned before that the Parks Department is partnering with the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference to maintain trails in our parks and do a better job of that. And today I went for a reconnaissance walk with 2 of the supervisors of this project and the representative from the Trail Conference through Kings Pond and down towards Gypsy Pond. And for that, we are going to have a project on October 5th. If you would like to volunteer and help, you can sign up. I believe it's on the village website where you can sign up for the 2 upcoming dates. One is for Kings Pond, October 5th, as I said. Also for Grove Park, that's going to be July 12th. And they're from 10 to 2, so you have to bring your lunch, and you do have to sign up in advance. It teaches, you learn how to establish the blazes for trails so that people know where the trails are and to stay on the trails. Also, you're trimming back the overgrowth so people know where the trails are, where to walk. You're not going off the trail. And for the maintainers, we do need people to take, say, a mile, maybe even just a quarter of a mile of a trail to go after a storm and see what needs to be fixed. Is there erosion? Are trees down that need to be removed? You're not responsible for actually removing the trees. You're responsible for reporting it up through the chain of command, and they will get a sawyer to come remove the trees. But you are trimming, you are looking for things like the mountain bike ramps that kids build in the middle of a trail, which are not just a tripping hazard, but they're also really bad for the ecology. One thing I learned today in the reconnaissance is when you walk off a trail and then you come back to the trail, you're bringing those invasive seeds and stuff you're just spreading them all over. So one way to combat that is boot brushes. And if you have boot brushes at the head of a trail, then people can get that off their shoes. And so I thought that would be a good project for Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. So let's see. Another thing that's happening is the James Rose House tomorrow is having a cleanup and spruce up 10 to 4 o'clock session for volunteers who would like to plant and clean up the James Rose House for their opening this spring. If you don't know what the James Rose House is, take a look. It's a beautiful gem of history in Ridgewood on Ridgewood Avenue. The Rotary AM Club in Ridgewood is having a firebox painting session in September. That's September 12th at 9 a.m. That's a Saturday, and they invite other people to join us if you would like. The fireboxes are those things that stand around Ridgewood. They have a red box at the top which has the word Gamewell on it, and they are a very quick way to notify the fire department if you see a fire. In fact, it's the fastest way to get an engine to a fire. And I bring that up because of what Keith mentioned about the house fire in the lawns. Planning Board met last night, and we went over the Zoning Board's annual report. I won't go through their comments here because we're talking about the Zoning Board's report later tonight. But we also did discuss the sidewalk display ordinance that was introduced last month, Ordinance 4096. And in general, the members of the Planning Board were very positive about our introduced ordinance. There were no negative comments about it at all. One person mentioned that he was glad to see that that retailers will be treated equally with the restaurants in use of the sidewalks. One member of the Planning Board said it would be helpful if the Village Council, whenever it sends an ordinance over to the Planning Board for its comments, to give them an idea of the financial impact that the ordinance will have on the municipality. So I just bring that to your attention. And let's see. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Pam. I only have one item, which is the Community Center Advisory Board that is spearheading the renovation of our first floor here in Village Hall to provide for a senior center, is having a tour and fundraiser on June 11th at 5 o'clock. The fundraiser is only $25. I urge everyone to attend, come and see what our new senior center is going to look like. Make the small donation. It goes to a very, very worthy cause. So again, that's June 11th at 5 o'clock. And then last but not least, this Sunday, as we all know, is Mother's Day. Let's all be grateful for our moms and for the women in our lives who have given so much to their families, to our community. And I wish every mother in the community a wonderful, wonderful Mother's Day with your families. And with that...
Paul, but I think that you
excuse
forgot the big hook about the fundraiser, wine and cheese.
Wine and cheese. There will be wine. You can come and get $25 worth of wine and cheese. So be sure now to attend. Thank you, Frank.
You could combine them. Buy your mother a ticket to the wine and cheese.
Where would we be without this council? They are amazing, absolutely amazing. They think of everything. And with that, we will go to our regular agenda. We have the annual update and presentation by Green Ridgewood. David Refkin, who puts in a tremendous amount of time. David, come on up. He is all environmental all the time. So, David, it's a pleasure to have you here tonight. It is what it is. Would you make sure that your microphone is on?
Yes.
Green light. Good.
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity to be here for the annual Green Ridgewood update. We appreciate all your support. We have a lot to go through tonight, so I will speak quickly. So each year, we talk about what we accomplished in the previous year and what our goals are for 2026. So as we look at 2025, one of the major things we did was working with Columbia University on a study, the initial focus, which was transforming the Saddle River County Park into a model of sustainability. We'll talk more about most of these later on in the presentation. And then implementing the flooding recommendations, the 20 recommendations that we provided about 2 years ago, and also applying for a NJDEP Climate Resiliency Grant, which was $1.7 million. It was not successful, but there's another opportunity. We've started efforts to understand the energy usage of all of our village facilities here. The school district has done that also. We'll talk more about that. We were trying to learn what the public health issues are around gas-powered leaf blowers, as well as what the economics, the efficiencies, and all the other challenges around that subject. We'll talk more about that. We also had a joint project with Parks and Recreation that we started last year for the first time. We worked together on 3 rain gardens. Just last weekend, there was some more work that went on at 2 of the rain gardens. It was really a very successful effort. And we've also been working with the Board of Education, sharing knowledge, developing relationship with the board members, and coordinating our efforts. That's been a real positive this year. They have a sustainability committee at the Board of Ed. And last year, our theme for the Daffodil Festival Earth Day Fair was H2 Optimize, which was very timely because while we are going to talk mostly about flooding tonight, in fact, we're in the midst of a really awful drought. Our rainfall over the last 20 months is down 30%. Really worried about fires this summer. Hopefully we'll get some more rain later this week. And then we do a quarterly newsletter now. I think we've had 8 or 10 editions of that have come out, and we also rebuilt our website. So a lot got done in 2025. And now turning to what our focus is now in 2026, we are very actively involved in trying to find regional solutions to minimize flooding. I've said too many times that the Saddle River does not know where Ridgewood ends and where Glen Rock begins, or where Ho-Ho-Kus ends and Ridgewood begins. This is a regional, county, really statewide and beyond issue. And there's also now a second round of climate resiliency grant that has come out. More to come. We're trying to learn as much as we can about gas-powered leaf blowers, what other communities have done, including attending a session down in Maplewood late last year, and finding the appropriate balance between issues around efficiency and staffing. So talking with people who work for the village to understand what the challenges there might be. We've been assisting with an expanded food scrap collection program, more on that. We've also been developing recommendations, and this will be ongoing. It's a real work in progress about how we can save energy and save money. As we all know, electricity rates have skyrocketed. Oil and gas right now is very expensive. Diesel, oh my God, $6 a gallon. Anything we can do to reduce our energy usage. So we've received a lot of information. We're working on turning that into how can it help all of you when you put together the 2027 budget. The Green Team, under the leadership of Jerry Atwood, is now organizing its efforts for our next round of New Jersey Sustainability Certification. That's just kicking off. And yes, we were so lucky with the weather. We all were worrying for too many days, but it did stop raining at about 5 a.m., and we had a wonderful Daffodil Festival Earth Day Fair. Our theme was Sustainable Yards, and it was great. The scavenger hunt, we had kids and adults running all over the place trying to get all their stickers so that they could enter the contest for the giveaways. And one of the things that we do as part of this is the elementary schools have an art contest. This is the #1 winner, Olivia Wong from the 5th grade at Ridge. There was so many great posters to look at, and what we do is we put them up all around the village in storefronts so that people can get to see how involved our young people are and how concerned they are about the health of our planet. So, changing gears now, let's talk a little bit about our flooding challenges. So, as you know, 20 recommendations 2 years ago. We were implementing many of those recommendations, and there's plans to do a lot more, which is really exciting. But I'm going to focus tonight on goal number 6, explore Bergen County-wide solutions up and downstream, and this has been a challenging one. So the first part of this was, we did a second study with Columbia University in 2025 with their students in the SUMA program. And it initially focused on transforming the Saddle River County Park into a model of sustainability. And I enjoy telling the students regularly, this is a 577-acre park, more than twice the size of that little park called Riverside across the street from your university. This park's a big deal, and it is in serious ecological decline. There's flooding, there's lack of funding. If you go there and walk along, especially in the Ridgewood part of the park, and see what's going on along the stream, it's quite concerning. One of the things that we learned was that the county has only a general operating and capital budget for the parks. They don't break it out by park. There's also not a person responsible for the Saddle River County Park. And I will say that the spending per capita in Bergen County versus Morris and Essex County is substantially lower than those other two counties. So as part of this process, we included all the 6 communities that had joined the Saddle River County Park. And they were all interviewed, and this was great because we developed relationships with the towns up and downstream. I've been back for presentations with Paramus, Glen Rock, and Rochelle Park, and we've learned about what they're doing, and sometimes it's different than what we're doing, sometimes it's different issues, but they have their own innovative solutions. So some of the key findings, I should say, we just share knowledge and we develop solutions together. So some of the key findings for the 6 adjoining towns, and these are rather incredible. In the 6 towns, there are $7.2 billion of at-risk real estate. $4 billion of that is Paramus, about $800 million of that is Ridgewood. Countywide, $72 billion of property at risk. There's a real worrisome pending insurance crisis as insurers are either leaving the county, jacking up their rates, or if you have to go to National Flood Insurance, the most you can get back is $250,000. Try building a house in Bergen County for $250,000. You can't. So here's the headline. Bergen County is the #1 at-risk county in the United States for flood risk. And people say to me, how could that be? Well, the reasons are we are largely paved over. We had an incredible amount of very valuable, especially commercial real estate, right down Route 17. It's a floodway. When you're going down Route 17, that's the heart of it. And trust me, Saddlebrook, Rochelle Park, Lodi, those communities have really, really big problems. So also emergency preparedness is not where it should be. We were rated number 709 out of 1,000 in this study, and you know, we had a recent Bergen County hazard mitigation plan that was done, and that kind of raises questions about you know, what shape are we in to really deal with some challenges. And just as this came out, the first round of the NJDEP Climate Resiliency Grant came out, and unfortunately, we did not get that funding. So one of the things that happened after we found out in December we did not get the funding was the communities along the river felt, you know, we want to make sure we have a voice, we want to work together, we want to make sure that we heard there was another grant application coming, we want to make sure we're ready, that we do a good job this time. So you can see who the communities are. Paramus was not included in the first round. Paramus will be included in the second round. And also, we organized the meeting right here on March 14th and hosted it, and it included those towns as well as the Hackensack Riverkeeper and the Passaic River Coalition, 2 important NGOs. I will say that the Bergen County effort in the first round was not as well executed as it should have been, and this group decided that we wanted to work together on a new application that incorporates both feedback that we got from DEP that we requested as well as the OPRA request that we put through, and we got some very valuable feedback there so we know how we can improve upon this. And Ridgewood will be organizing the individual town responses to make sure that they're consistent. We're in the middle of that right now. So the Saddle River Watershed Alliance, which is an ad hoc group right now. It's nothing formal, but we are all talking together. And the goal here is to develop a grassroots enduring organization to give us a consistent voice as we develop solutions to minimize flooding. And Captain Bill Sheehan, who's well known from the Hackensack Riverkeeper, he brought up the subject of a stormwater utility. We put that on hold for now. We know that there's a lot of issues and concerns about that, but that issue was thrown out. I just wanted to mention that. April 20th, we had another Zoom call. We brought Lodi into the conversation. Lodi, between the tidal Passaic River flowing in one direction and the Saddle River flowing in the other direction, has some huge challenges. The group has worked really well together. As I said, we're developing the applications that make sure they're consistent. That was one of the criticisms from DEP. And we've been having numerous discussions with Pam, with the mayor, with Keith, and I thank you for all your help with that. So there is now a new grant application that just came out, and it was released on April 21, and it has to be filed by June 7th. It's a lot of money, $200,000 to $350,000 for each one of the regions, so that includes all the towns, at least $150,000 for the 2 community-based organizations, and then additional funding of up to $2 million for DEP for procured consultant teams to develop the solutions, the specific answers that we need to minimize flooding. That's a start to addressing the challenges that we have. Having underserved communities is something that the state is looking for too, so it's helpful to have other communities, including Lodi, as part of that. So we're working together to develop these regional team member applications, and the Hackensack Riverkeeper and Passaic River Coalition have agreed to be the CBOs. I guess I said that already. And now we're starting our interactions with Bergen County concerning who will be the prime, how does that all work, and how do we partner with the other 7 communities. So I wanted to mention 2 other key initiatives, and the first one is 2-stroke gas-powered leaf blowers. And the issue here is that we have public health concerns, we have economic concerns, and as with all kinds of sustainability challenges, how do you balance those? So the public health concern is that 2-stroke gas-powered leaf blowers are very loud. That they're over 100 decibels, and that's a logarithmic scale, so they're really loud. And the air pollution, based on studies from Edmunds.com and others, either half an hour or 1 hour is equal to driving an F-150 truck from Florida to Alaska in terms of the emissions. So the emissions coming out of these 2-stroke gas leaf blowers are a lot. We learned that Maplewood and Montclair actually banned the 2-stroke gas-powered leaf blowers, and they put together a forum, which 4 of us went down to learn what they did there and how that's working. Some of us have talked about it'd be nice if there was state legislation. The state legislation is at a standstill right now. So having had multiple discussions with Park and Rec on the subject, talking with Keith a lot about this, we understand that there's a need for efficiency, that the current inventory of leaf blowers has to be assessed, there's staffing issues, there are economic issues. So what we've arranged is a meeting for our DPW department and the Maplewood DPW department to talk with each other and to learn from the actual operators what's going on, what's working, what's not working, what are the efficiencies, and let's talk and see if there's something here that makes sense. And that meeting has been rescheduled twice. I think it's in a couple of weeks. And then last, on food scrap collection, there's a new state law in the lame duck session that said that the state mandates a 50% reduction in food waste by 2035. This is a hard lift. This is not easy. The good news is Ridgewood is far and away in the leadership position within Bergen County on this. We have 300 homes. We're expanding to 800 homes. We are going to be adding from 2 to 4 drop-off locations. Every other town keeps on saying, Ridgewood, what are you doing? We want to copy what you're doing. And I'm proud to say that Green Ridgewood basically used our proceeds from the Earth Day Fair, and we financed one of the new drop-off containers. So how does this all happen? There's just a great group of volunteers that I work with who are really dedicated. Here's the group of them. Jerry leading the Green Team, Justin in charge of communications and Green Building, Peter, thank you for being here tonight, who heads resource management and conservation, so dealing with issues like leaf blowers, food scraps, and other things, and then Jane, who handles finances for us. It's just a great group of people. We meet not only monthly, but most of these subcommittees have Zoom calls in between our meetings. And there's a group of us at the Earth Day Fair. It's actually about half of us. Obviously, somebody in a straw hat stands out, but I guess that was right after the Daffy Dog Parade. So thank you all for your support, and if there are any questions, comments, suggestions, happy to answer them.
David, thank you so much. You are tireless in your efforts at helping Ridgewood protect its environment and the surrounding communities. And I know we've had many discussions. Some of them get a little heated, which is great because you're so passionate about this, and we appreciate your leadership on this. Council, does anybody have any questions or comments for David?
I only have one comment. So everything Paul said. Thank you for everything, and to all the people on your team. Because Rich is here, I always wonder when we're trying to achieve a higher status, like from bronze to silver, if we've partnered with Ridgewood Water to include some of the cool stuff they're doing, and if that would be allowed, because, you know, Ridgewood Water is our utility, and there's some fairly progressive things going on there that might be advantageous to grants. And, you know, I'm literally seeing Rich right behind you, so we can talk about it offline, but I would really love to see us reclaim silver. And I've been sending Jerry everything from the other committees, and awesome. But that would be a real big goal, I think, for all 5 of us this year, because then we'd get even more grants with that status.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're really gearing it up. Actually, New Jersey, Sustainable New Jersey certification has kind of been delayed a year because they're reprogramming everything. But we're working right now on this, even though we won't really apply until 2027. But yeah, we should be including what Ridgewood Water does. Yeah.
And you can, Jerry, I sent her like 8. I thought we missed it, and then I heard it had been delayed. I was like, yes. And then I was really thinking there's some novelty going on over there, so you guys should connect. And if it works and we can include it, it would just make it even more impressive.
Okay, good, thanks.
I was thinking along the same lines. However, I learned that if you are required to, for instance, get rid of PFAS in your water by law, you can't get credit for it under Sustainable Jersey. Similarly, with lead service line replacements, we're required to do that by law, so you cannot get Sustainable Jersey credit for those things, unfortunately.
Even if we're way ahead of virtually everybody in the state.
Exactly.
I mean, again, we can.
You just get cleaner water.
Right, and we can, there's
And
also.
you're going to have to be happy with that.
But there's things that Ridgewood Water is doing for drought conservation, like leak detection, things that are outside of other things. I'm telling you, I think it's going to be a good combination.
I also want to say that we have a Green Ridgewood Green Team meeting coming up this Thursday. It's, of course, open to the public. We cover lots of different topics. The students from Ridgewood High School are always there reporting on what they are doing also. And I also wanted to say that we have one opening on Green Ridgewood and another opening on Green Team. And if you would like to apply, the deadline for that is, Heather?
15th.
May 15th, yes. The application form is online. If you go under the clerk's department, you can find that form online. It's a very simple form to fill out. And if you're vaguely interested, come to this week's meeting and see what it's all about.
Anybody else?
Yeah, David, as you said, you got a lot of interactions with people at the Daffodil Festival, and I'm just curious that with Project 1,000 Acres, which is to engage the residents, for those that don't know, so they can do different green-oriented things in their own yard. How close are we to 1,000 acres?
Good question. I think we're about 40% of the way there. We have to check. We'll take a look and see if people signed up, at the Earth Day Fair. But I think last I heard about 40%. So we have a way to go.
Yeah, because what I like about, for people that don't know, it's that you get to pledge to do different green things in your own yard, and so that way it really engages all the residents. What I especially like about it is it's a menu, so it's not that you're required to do everything, because when it comes to being green, people have different priorities, and then the priorities can fit what you want to do in your own yard.
Right, yeah. I think you need to commit to 5 out of the 10.
Yeah, so but it has 10, and it's not,
yeah,
so thank you.
And this is Slow-Mo May month. And if you need a sign for your lawn and you want to be part of it, I have an extra. And Frank, where are the rest of them?
That you can pick it up at the library, at the reference desk, and also at the stable. And we did the library so it's after hours, so you don't have, if you can, after work, you can just stop by.
Yep.
Everybody good?
Thank you.
David, thank you so much. Really appreciate your efforts. And let's go to our regular agenda. Keith.
Mayor, at this time, I'd like to invite Rich Calby, our Director of Ridgewood Water, up to go over his items. And also, as Rich is coming up, if the council could pull C12, which is under budget. We're actually going to discuss that under Ridgewood Water as well. Rich, that's the supplemental for the iBank financing.
9C12?
9C12.
I'll go over it.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a copy of that,
Okay,
sorry.
no worries.
Here, I'll give you mine. I'll look on.
This looks like 4.
Welcome, Rich.
Good evening.
This is the expensive part of the night, in case anybody wanted to know.
No, it's not
too bad,
so
sir.
much tonight.
Only
I would
low
just,
seven figures tonight, Rich, or?
Just 3 items for water tonight. Then I don't know, there are a couple of sanitation items too, if you want me to cover those while I'm here as well. So on the Ridgewood Water side of things, the first item, 982, is the recommendation to approve a change order number 1, for the lead service line replacement contract with Revax. This is mainly associated with overages in the allowances that were put in the contract, mostly for traffic control, police traffic control throughout the 4 towns for all the replacements, an overage of about $501,000. So it's change order number 1, total amount of $433,333, because there are some decreases in road opening permits, and that'll bring the Revax contract up by about 13.3% to $3,686,983.
Everybody good?
I just want to say, Richard, that because I had my house done, that this was great, that they're so efficient, as it's like a NASCAR crew just working to replace the pipeline, and then just for the traffic control, thankfully our Richard Police helps with that, but it's been going extremely smooth, I would say, and I thank you, this vendor and your team.
Thank you.
Hey, Rich, and I know it's only 13%, but it's like 300-some-odd thousand. What's the main driver for the increase?
The main driver is traffic control, police traffic directors. And we have no control over that. They dictate whether or not they want police out there for the opening in the street.
Because they have a big digger, so they have to go through the street, so they have to close it for that reason.
And there was no way to anticipate that?
We anticipated $200,000, but
Yeah.
it actually spent $701,000. I think it's a conversation for the police, because we have to go by their
No,
request.
I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm
Yeah.
just wondering next time maybe think about it more, but all right.
Yeah, we never
understood.
anticipated it would be that much. The next item is recommendation for a final payment and closeout on one of the PFAS projects. This is actually the first closeout. This is for a raw water main project. It's actually contract number 2. This was an expedited contract to complete water mains, mainly in Midland Park, to get ahead of some county and local paving. So the recommendation is to close out the project in the final amount of $650,048.16. This is fortunately below what the project was awarded for at $673,938. So it's a recommendation to close out and issue the final payment to the contractor on the ground utilities.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Thanks
Go.
for coming in under budget.
Yes. It's always good. And the last item, and this is coming from the,
You want me to do this, Rich?
yeah, if you don't mind, thank you.
No worries. So if you recall, a few meetings back in April, we appropriated another $4 million for the construction of 2 of the treatment plants. We need to adopt a subsequent resolution, which is attached for the construction loan Phase 4. This is to satisfy the requirements of the construction loan financing program through the iBank. So this is from Bob Rooney, but it outlines in the packet that you have why this needs to be done. And again, we've done all of our financing for these PFAS projects through the iBank, and this will keep us in compliance with their requirements.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Let's go. Rich, thank you very much.
Wait a minute, what about the emergency 20-inch valve? Did we talk about that?
That was pulled.
That was pulled.
But it should be coming back at a subsequent meeting.
Yeah.
All good?
Yep.
So do you want to stick around? And actually, James, if you'll come forward, we're going to run through these. So, and they're not grouped together. So, let's go to B, which is parking, and this is the establishment of the senior parking program in the Central Business District. Matt put this resolution together after researching the statute. So, Matt, do you want to give the highlights on this one?
No, just
Matt, microphone?
Get carried away here for a second. There was a concern of the council to do what they could to help seniors in the Central Business District and give them priority access with regard to a program that was set up by the state to schedule certain permits for this purpose. So by resolution, the council is able to set up this program. In reviewing this before tonight, when I got the packet, I did send to Heather back on Wednesday a form of the resolution that really had the age threshold at 60 instead of 65. I think that's what the council wanted. That's,
I went through the notes, it was 65. If they want to change it, that's up to them.
oh, the one I sent you on Wednesday, the 29th, was 60.
So that's actually, can we ask, that's one of my questions. What is the legal definition for age of a senior citizen? And,
Well, that's different than what the program's about, so.
well, is there an actual legal answer? Because sometimes people say, I'm a senior, that means I'm over 55, and then there's different payouts from
Well,
60 to 62.
The statute says 60. The statute that allows the senior parking priority says 60.
So you can
So
set up
should
the
we-
threshold down to 60, so.
Okay, so can we talk about that now? Or
Sure.
am I jumping? So
Sure.
I do think we need to talk about the age, because I was surprised to see 65.
We had discussions about this, and it
Yeah.
was going to be 60, and that's what I had sent over, but we can just make the change because it's a resolution. It doesn't have the same requirements that an ordinance does if you make a substantive change. So we can amend it to say 60 if that's where the council is, and
But we can do either.
you can do either.
I just, council wants.
I just want to say for the record, the larger you make,
The more money.
the more money we lose.
Right.
So the more eligible participants, and I'm not saying it should be 60 or 65, that's a council decision, but the more people you include in the program, it will have an effect on year-end parking revenue.
I mean, my
just wanna
first
be clear
question was
about
like,
that.
you know how we legally, you say this is this, so what is this, what age do we all think a senior in Ridgewood is for this exemption? So
Well,
that
at
was
the
one-
ordinance working group, as Heather said, we talked about 65, and I am in favor of 65.
That was in my notes as well.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the reason I'm in favor of 65. The impetus, well, if it's 60, I still qualify. So. But I think the issue is that we are trying to encourage seniors to stay, to not have to move out of town because it gets so expensive, and not that there's a retirement age, it's different for everybody, but many people at 60 are still working. More are not working at 65, and so we're trying to help people stay in town, and we're trying to give them reasons to stay. Again, the senior center on the first floor here, we're trying to do a whole bunch of things, a suite of programs, and this is part of it. And I think that, when you make it a little, here, I never thought I'd say that 60 is a little too young, but, for those 60-year-old whippersnappers, my opinion is that it's better to wait to 65. Also, for the financial reasons, the impact on the village. We don't want to hamstring the village by doing too much. Just my thoughts.
I agree. I think 65, because as you said, Paul, I think that's true. There's a lot of people at 60 that are still working, and it seems like they'd have an unfair.
I'm cool with anyone. I think, and to be clear, I think the program's wonderful.
Yeah.
My mom, I'm going to talk to her about this. This may be her Mother's Day gift, because to echo some of the sentiments from council chat, the seniors and the way they park, it's really problematic, from the glare to the back and forth, when you have a lot of the issues. So I think it's great, even if we introduce it as a pilot, I'm fine with it being 65. I didn't know if it was random or by definition.
Yeah, and to echo, look, I'm excited about voting yes on this, because even went back to when I was campaigning, this was one of the issues that I heard the most about, that we need to do stuff for our seniors so they can park. So I think this is fantastic that we're doing this.
I am a little concerned about enforcement. Somebody has the decal on their car, and they park without going to the kiosk, without using Park Mobile. How does the parking enforcement officer know when they took that parking spot and count for 3 hours?
It'll all be visual. The chief discussed that at the ordinance working group
Yeah,
meeting.
and I would like to see strict enforcement here because plaques and decals and parking passes are known to be rife and ripe for abuse.
Keith, do we have?
Yeah, there's not going to be a digital footprint on these permits.
Yeah.
It'll be in the system, but it won't be registered through Park Mobile when they actually park in the spot.
Right, and it's also by vehicle, so if you had like a grandchild who borrowed your car, there are some, but I think it's worth exploring. It's been undone for a long time, and we've been hearing about it for
I
a
know
long time.
Chief Lyons and Captain Ender have already started to put some training guidelines together for the parking enforcement people, assuming that this is going to go through. So we can have them come and talk to us about that, but, you know, this will be a visual-based system.
And they could probably go old school and chalk the tires.
So, Keith, can I
I
ask,
don't think we're allowed to do that.
do we have an estimate how many takers we'll think we'll have on this?
We don't.
So it's just no, but as, I mean.
We don't.
I'm for it. I'm wondering how many people are going to want to lay out $70 or $50 at one pop.
No, 75.
75. Oh, 75. I read this wrong. Oh, wow. That's a good deal. Never mind. Now I wish I was
Evan, have you
older.
suddenly turned 60?
I was about to say, yeah, no, I'm going to start feeling.
I have another question. I wasn't sure how many people can be registered owners on a single car, so I Googled it. And so I don't necessarily trust the results I got, but 2 people can, according to Google, can be owners on a registration. And it can be disjunctive or conjunctive. And if it's one person, say it's a married couple, one person is older than 65 and one person is younger. Now what?
I mean, in fairness, you have the same issue with handicap plates.
Mhm.
So like my mother has handicap plates and, you know, if I take her car, theoretically, I could park in a spot. It'd be morally horrible, but I mean, you kind of put up with it for the benefit of the overall program. I mean, I think it's worth trying. I think there are definitely shortcomings here, and there definitely is going to be some abuse.
Yeah.
The overall good strikes me as pretty positive, and I say that as one of the people not eligible for the parking.
No,
I couldn't help
agree.
myself. But overall, and listen, if it blows up in our face, we just won't redo it next year.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about the people staying longer than 3 hours. I'm sure Chief Lyons is going to develop some guidelines for the parking enforcement officers. I'm definitely not concerned about, you know, a married couple where one qualifies and the other doesn't. Again, we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
No, I'm just
So-
bringing these things up because enforcement's going to be difficult. Do our PEOs carry cameras? I guess they have their phones.
As far as to document, yeah, they have the ability to document visually.
Do they have body cams? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it's that I would rather create this to help our seniors as opposed to find ways to focus on the people that might try to game the system. It's a greater good for helping our seniors in downtown.
I think the handicap placard is the perfect analogy. You know, we have that. It doesn't. We're not overly concerned about any potential abuse there. I think that it's, and I don't have any data, but I'm going to guess it is the exception rather than the rule, and it helps a lot of people. So.
And it should also be noted in the resolution, the last clause in the resolution, actually, that this is not, the spaces are not available for this program at the train station. So it does not in any way, shape, or form affect commuter parking before 3 p.m. And none of the 15-minute parking spaces as designated throughout the central business district. So both of those before 3 p.m. at the train station and the 15-minute parking spots are both excluded from parking with the program.
Did we also have an exclusion for some portion of the deck that is used for employees?
I had talked to the police department, Glenn Ender and Ray Torino, about that. And their opinion was that they felt that the seniors wouldn't be parking up on the 4th floor or the 3rd floor.
And walking down.
Or taking the stairs down. So they thought thought you could leave it out. Again, there are certain aspects of this that are a work in progress.
Good.
And by resolution, it could be changed, but in the meantime, we'll see how that goes.
Good.
Yeah. Let's make sure that after this has been in place for 12 months, we see what how our revenues are affected and how many takers we have and all that kind of analysis. I also want to thank Helen for bringing this up because she was the impetus for all of this.
Very good.
We can amongst those of us close to this, we can refer to it as Helen's Senior Parking Permit Program, because she buttonholed me at several HILT meetings, and she'd see me walk in the door, and she'd go, "Come here, I want to talk to you." And we did. So, great idea, Helen. Thank you very much. A lot of people are going to benefit from this. So, everybody good with this?
Yes.
Good. Let's go.
So a lot of the items tonight under the budget category are capital expenditures that were approved as part of the 2026 capital budget. And as James and Rich will both tell you, when we had our capital budget meeting with all the directors and the supervisors here this year, we made it clear that if they were making this request, it was a need, not a want. And I also encouraged them, once the estoppel period passed, to quickly order, especially if there's a wait time on any of the vehicles or equipment, to get these items ordered. So you're going to see a list tonight of different purchases from the 2026 capital account. The first is from our recycling coordinator, solid waste supervisor, Sean Hamlin. This is for a 2026 model Ford Maverick hybrid pickup truck. This is going to service the Clean Communities program. It will be purchased through Route 23 Auto Mall through a state contract. The amount not to exceed for the vehicle is $34,044.35. Any questions?
Pretty good?
Okay, the next is also from Sean Hamlin, Recycling and Solid Waste. This is the 2026 model Ford F-350 pickup truck to replace truck RC-252 in the recycling division. Again, Route 23 Auto Mall through a state contract with a not-to-exceed amount of $61,195.
Keith, if it's a 2026 model Ford F-350, then you need to change the year in the resolution.
The
which said-
typo was noted in your email earlier
Yeah.
today, and Sean's made the correction with Heather.
Okay.
The next item is for a plow mount for the Ford F-350. This is for the pickup truck. This is to assist with the recycling division, which also assists the street division with snow removal through the winter months. This is through a Sourcewell cooperative purchasing contract, not to exceed $8,458.
Pretty good? Let's go.
Okay, also from Sean, this is the lift gate for the Ford F-350. Both of these are associated with equipping that truck. This is again for the recycling division. This lift gate will assist staff members in collecting of heavy appliances for special bulk metal collection days. Again, available through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program contract at a not-to-exceed amount of $5,097.50.
Everybody good?
Yes, but can I go back to 9C1? That's the Ford Maverick hybrid. That's for Clean Communities. Is that only to be used by the Clean Communities employee?
Rich, I'll yield to you on the operational side of it.
Yes.
Okay, and what is the jurisdiction of the Clean Communities employee? Does he only work downtown, or is
No.
it? Okay.
No, he works throughout the village. He does other restroom cleaning at the train station, at the field here. Goes back and forth to Chestnut Street, the Public Works building as well.
Okay, and thanks for making it a hybrid.
No, definitely.
Okay, item 5, this is under Public Works. This is for the new truck-mounted sewer jet for water pollution control. This is the purchase of one 800 HPR truck-mounted sewer jet to replace the existing International Jet Vac truck, which was purchased in 2016. Again, this is funded through the 2026 capital account, and this is through a Sourcewell cooperative, not to exceed $356,409.41. If you have any questions on this particular truck, Councilman Mortimer, James is here to answer any questions that the council may have.
No, it's a very specialized truck, and I think that what our department does is that they're proactively going out and cleaning the sewers, which is good. And then when I talked to James Feely about he's actually maybe some of our surrounding towns, we might be able to generate income with this as well. So I think this is a great truck, and I hope I get to ride on it one time.
And I had a question about the use of this. In addition to cleaning out the sanitary sewers, can this be used to clean out the stormwater sewers?
I'll have to check on that, but I know that it's for water pollution control, so they would prefer to stick to sanitary.
Okay.
And this is also the truck that Councilman Whites, during our budget discussions, talked about entering into a shared service agreement with surrounding municipalities. So once it's ordered, I've already introduced that concept to the 13 administrators that get together in Northwest Bergen to talk about how we could share this truck and potentially either have a formal shared services agreement or come up with a rate schedule like we do with Northwest Bergen to provide that service to the other municipalities. So as we onboard this truck, we're going to investigate those opportunities as well.
From the investigation of the truck, it takes 6 months of training to learn how to use it. So I think it's good to have shared services, but our guys need to do it.
We would be using the vehicle. We would respond to an emergency in another municipality, and our folks on overtime at the sister community's expense would mobilize the truck and do the work.
Yeah, they would pay for the truck and the manpower. We're not
I
giving
just
them
wanted,
this.
because when we had the budget discussion, it was maybe that give other places the keys. I want to.
Yeah, no one else is getting the keys.
Yeah, and thank you, Keith, for remembering that. I know we spent a lot of time talking about it. It's a $356,000 truck, so anything we can do to get some of that back by helping some of our,
And remember, water pollution does do a lot of other things that actually generate income. They take poopy water from other places and we dispose of it. Isn't that the engineering term for it?
Yeah. Technical.
All right, the next item is item 6. This is award of a professional services contract for the architect for the Emergency Operations Center for the proposed work at the Office of Emergency Management Building on Douglas Place. Jeremy Kleiman is recommending that this contract be awarded to RSC Architects at a total cost of $35,000.
I don't understand what is the plan for each room in that building. Is this going to be like the dispatch center, or are they treating patients there?
Respectfully, none of the above. So right now, that space is still configured as if we're running EMS services out of there. Shortly before I arrived here in Ridgewood, EMS service, ambulance response, was moved over to the fire department exclusively. So you have a building that served one purpose, no longer services that purpose. So what we're looking to establish is an official OEM center where if we have an emergency, if we have a flood event, if we have an earthquake, if we have a hurricane, that we can operate out of with all necessary personnel. Right now, that space is us all crammed into a conference room downstairs in the police department. But we would need to have the space reconfigured. We'd have to have all the necessary communications to be able to respond in an event like that, have different areas of the center that would be allocated towards fire, police, OEM, communication with central dispatch, all of those different things. So the proposal here is to come up with the architectural drawings that we can then bring back to the council so that you can see what Jeremy's plan is in creating this OEM space.
Okay, there was something in here that I didn't, okay. Under the things that are not, that are out of scope, the last one says architectural renderings or models. So I'm confused about what these architects are doing. I do see that they're doing design development drawings. And I don't know what these terms mean, really. But are they doing architectural renderings? Isn't that a drawing?
I think architectural renderings or models are more of a 3D concept, but I'll defer to James.
you're essentially getting blueprints. You're not getting nice, pretty 3D colorized
No elevations?
drawings. No elevation, perhaps elevations, but definitely no, like 3D rendering is, you know, you're plugging it into AutoCAD or whatever design software you have, and it's spitting out a nice design you can kind of put on a poster board, show to the public. It's not getting that. You're getting blueprints that everyone here can review, talk to OEM about, and it's kind of the nuts and bolts versus, you know, any exterior. But if this is just an interior room, you probably wouldn't need that anyway.
Right.
Okay, that does
You're getting
explain.
traditional architectural drawings for the proposed space. We're not getting any type of models or displays or anything of that nature.
Okay. So from what you're saying, this is not going to be like a shelter, like if there's a heat wave, it's not going to be where people go for air conditioning. It's not going to house people who have suffered a fire and
It's
have
not
no
it's
place
not
to
really
be.
for public use at all.
Okay, it's just a command center.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and we've used RSC before. I know Jeff Schlecht, so I'm in favor.
Okay, great.
Everybody else good? Let's go.
Okay, the next item is from Parks and Recreation. This is to rescind and replace Resolution 2682, the award of contract under the Educational Services of New Jersey Co-op design, supply, and install pavilion shelter at Kings Pond Park. After some new information was provided to us, the initial resolution was from MCR Inc. I'm sorry, it was from, hold on. I'm sorry, it was from RCP, too many acronyms, Shelters, but the actual parent company is MRC Inc. So we need to simply, from an administrative standpoint, change the name, but nothing will change as far as the award of contract.
So I just want to, absolutely nothing with the timeline will change because this is tied to the diversion.
No,
Okay.
And the stuff's sitting there.
no,
Come again?
this is all administrative.
Right, no, I'm just saying that the equipment was delivered, so the
I don't know if the pavilion was delivered, the playground. I think
Well,
there's
the-
two parts.
The reason we have to do this is so that the vendor can
Yeah.
get paid. So that we want to make sure that it's aligning with their business registration.
I've got it. I just want to make
certificate.
sure there's no timing issue
No,
with.
That's why we're doing
this
it
is
now.
extra-
That's
it's
why we're
it's
doing it now.
exclusively administrative, so that the finance department can cut
Pay
the
them.
check to the right
To the right
name,
person.
to the right
Okay.
company.
Got it.
That's
And
it.
because it is a workshop, has it been delivered? I don't think it's been delivered yet.
I can check. but
Okay.
The pavilion, I haven't heard.
I just heard, I think the first part arrived, but not the second.
I know definitely the playground.
Cool.
Okay, the next one is the tree irrigation services for 2026. James and Nancy Bigos worked together. They opened a bid on Wednesday, April 22nd. We had one proposal from Downs Tree Service. The quote was $143,360 for tree irrigation services. The quote exceeds the available funds for this purpose, so we are looking tonight to reject all the bids that were submitted under this initial bid proposal and go out for a rebid. Anything you want to add to that?
I'll answer any questions, but I would like to point out, my start date came at a pretty important time of the year for the village, including this bid. So we didn't get a full, 3 or 4 weeks, which we would have liked. We had a 2-week turnaround, so we only got one bid. By the time we opened bids, we got a lot of responses from other firms that said if they had more time, they would have submitted a bid. So hopefully, if we can get this going, we can turn around next week and open the bids again, or publish it again, and then hopefully we'll be able to get bids received and acclimated by, the correct timeline and get all of our trees in the village.
Thanks for preempting my question.
In the RFP, when are you looking to start irrigation?
So last year, it was May 1st to November 1st. This year, I was going to do June 1st to December 1st, and I might have to push that to June 15th to December 15th.
Can get really hot before June 15th.
We should think with the new plantings about including in this gap time, which I totally get, of including an element of if the gator bag's on it, the residents should go to help. Because, that's like especially for the new trees last October. If we could do that in communications, just, if you have a gator bag, take the effort, because those trees are the ones that we're the most worried about. Can we do that, Keith?
I mean, we'd have to identify the communications aspect of it.
Yeah,
to let the
any one that was
residents know.
planted last year, I think, is the one that I'd be the most concerned with the remaining gator bag. And maybe we could even, shade tree, obviously, we can help, but if the gator bag has a rip, because sometimes people leave them on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to talk to Nancy when she gets back and see if that's something that the Parks Department can put out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the next item is to authorize a shared services agreement for the styrofoam densifier with the Borough of Waldwick.
I love the styrofoam densifier.
Me too. Great.
Wait, did we include that in Green Ridgewood? Because that's an awesome one for our scorecard.
I can't remember. I think we probably already got credit for it.
Yeah, because it's been there a while, and before they had the densifier at the Daffodil Festival to show it off. So I would assume that they have in the past, like Pam said.
Okay. I'm just going to keep writing Jerry emails.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Next item is the award of professional services contract. So there are 3 work efforts that we need to engage Richard A. Grubb Associates with relative to the Zabriskie-Shedler house. And these are all requirements as part of the SHPO approval, or the DEP approval that is administered by SHPO. And the first is a proposal for the archaeological monitoring protocol, which is required. That is the first sheet of the proposal, and the not-to-exceed amount is $6,000 for that work effort.
Questions?
Nope. And
Let's
there's
go.
a 3-point work effort associated with that.
No, wait, I do have a question. This one talks about monitoring during construction, and my question is construction of what? Is it construction
park.
of the field?
The
Is it
park.
Okay, so that would include the driveways, the fences, et cetera? Okay, gotcha.
It is all marked out now.
Yeah, right now, the Core 1 archaeological area is completely fenced off so that there's no interference from the remediation process. And that area will continue to need to be monitored as the park is developed.
And just keep in mind, there'll be development within it that I'll have more, because the little catering parking lot and the access to the house that will allow us to use it will be in that area, as will like the buffer, so the house is protected.
The second proposal in the packet is the proposal for the Archaeological Avoidance and Protection Program. There's an outline of exactly what the scope of that work is, and again, all required at the end that Richard A. Grubb submit an Archaeological Avoidance and Protection Program to SHPO, and then they will need to monitor it during the construction as well. And the amount not to exceed for the Avoidance and Protection Program is $8,965. And then finally, and this is the larger one, we're required to do certain documentation as part of the DEP approval on the project. So this is a proposal for the Historic American Building Survey. The acronym is HABS documentation. This was reviewed by Kelly Raffel, our historic preservation consultant. She worked with Richard A. Grubb to come up with the scope of work here, and the amount not to exceed for this work effort is $17,302.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Let's go.
All right. Okay, next is the award of the paving contract, and I'm going to defer to James on this one.
So again, a very important item for the village. We had a shortened bid time, but we got plenty of competitive bids back. And the lowest responsible bidder was also the lowest bidder, Smith Sondy. They've worked in Ridgewood a decent amount, and I believe they were here 2 or 3 years ago as our paving contractor, and they've done other work. And I've got previous experience in previous municipalities working with them, and I think they're going to do a great job for us. I believe we've allocated somewhere in the $2.5 to $2.75 million range for paving. We have an initial partial award of $1.5 million, and my staff has put together, everyone's wish list of paving projects, whether they be municipal lots, municipal parks, streets, and we're going to be working with other utilities to trade off paving streets here and there. But We're here to do an initial award. We're going to have a pre-con later this month, and we're hopefully going to start, ideally June 1st.
And I just want to thank James because Ridgewood constructs this bid specification very differently than pretty much every other municipality. And that was something that Chris brought to the table when he was the village engineer and the director of public works. And I have to tell you, it was brilliant because in other municipalities, they identify roadways, they calculate the linear feet of those roadways, and that's what they bid out. And then you're bound to pave, Smith Street or Williams Drive or whatever it happens to be. In this case, we do it by quantity allocation, which gives the engineering division in-house here the flexibility to move on the fly as we get through the year as to what projects become the priority. That's what allowed us to do the circle by the high school last year. It's allowed us to do the bump outs on East Glen Avenue the first year I was here, and it gives us flexibility. So as we do this, we learned yesterday in a meeting with PSE&G that they are going to be doing some gas work in the lawns over by Hawes School, which, by the way, is not going to start until after school lets out. We made sure of that. But as we negotiate and we figure out what the linear footage that they'll have to resurface will be versus what we have available in the paving bid, we may have some flexibility to try to repave those streets curb to curb, which makes the most sense when we're repairing a roadway. So this bid specification gives us a lot of flexibility to meet the needs of the village as we move through 2026.
That's great. Great. James, first of all, you jumped into the deep end of the pool here, and it turns out that you're a really good swimmer, so we really appreciate it because there's a lot going on here. So we're really happy to have you on board. Question, the temporary crosswalk on Ridgewood Avenue in front of Tate, do we have a guesstimate as to when that might turn into a permanent crosswalk?
I mean, ideally tomorrow, but it's number one on our list.
Okay.
So sometime in June, I would say.
Terrific.
Can't wait to get rid of those concrete blocks.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's all, and if you want to go look, our inspector Carlos has already painted it. He got ahead of it.
I've seen it's all painted
He's
out.
ready to go.
Ready to go. No, it looks like it's going to be great, so thank you.
We asked him that today, too. We had a meeting with them. We're like, what's up with the crosswalk?
Great.
All right?
Let's go.
Thanks, James.
Thanks,
Do you need me
James.
for
Thanks,
E2?
James.
For which one?
E2.
Okay, you know what, let's jump to that. If the council will indulge us.
E2?
So James can go home? Yeah,
Sure.
we'll do E2 first, and then we'll circle back to the rest. So E2, and we've talked about this here before, this is a grant application that Matrix New World Design, our environmental firm, working on the Shedler project for the remediation, has prepared to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, to the Hazardous Discharge Site Remediation Fund. These grants are available for municipalities for the purposes of funding preliminary assessments, site investigation, remedial action work plan, and remedial action. By the time we're done with the remediation at Shedler, which should be by the beginning of June, we'll have checked off all of those boxes of all of those different work efforts that I just mentioned. But Matrix has put this grant application together. The total amount for the grant is $333,000 and change. And this is to recoup some of the costs for Matrix and for the overall remediation project from the DEP. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that.
No, I just want to give thanks to Matrix. They're proving their value by allowing us to recoup some of the money that we've spent on their services, which have been fantastic in my experience thus far.
Great. Good.
Any questions?
No, all good.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James.
Thanks, James.
Okay, circling back to D1, this is a proposal to amend Chapter 145, an ordinance which establishes the administrative fees for the Ridgewood Police Department for outside jobs. In speaking with Chief Lyons, and he did report out on this to the ordinance working group, we have not changed the fee structure in about 10 years when it comes to the administrative fee. And again, this will be for outside jobs. So we're talking PSE&G, we're talking Verizon, we're talking different utilities outside of the village work. All right, and we're looking to increase that by $10. All right?
Great.
The next item is also a fee schedule in Chapter 145, and this is for changes to the recreation fee ordinance. As you remember, a few meetings back, we adopted the new fields use policy, as did the Board of Education. So this updates and makes current all of the fees relative to the new field policy.
Yeah, and I know Parks and Rec, we talked about this a few months ago, so I think this is great. And it's also what's good about how the field policy was updated is that this is now pulled out separately, so we can update the fees and not have to worry about the bulk of it. So
Terrific.
yeah, it's all good.
Great. Everybody good? Let's go.
Okay, the next item is to endorse a community development block grant for Share Inc., replacement of an air compressor for a sprinkler system. The cost is $5,495 for the grant applications to CDBG.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Let's go.
The next item is to authorize a transfer of a liquor license, PRM Liquor, to Lucky Family Liquor, Quick Stop Wine and Liquor. Heather, I don't know if you have anything you want to add on this one. This was processed through your office.
Yeah, this has gone through the police department. They've done the background checks necessary, and they've approved it for transfer. So now the council just has to do a resolution to do so.
Everybody good with this?
Is 83 Godwin that strip mall? Okay,
Yes.
got it.
So it's not moving the location, it's just the ownership.
Person to person, not place to place.
I'll toast to that.
All good.
I got it, Frank,
Let's
I
go.
got it.
Okay, jumping down to E3, declaration of surplus property for the recycling division. As referenced in the prior memo where Sean was requesting the purchase of one of the vehicles, this is to declare the truck that I mentioned, RC-252, as surplus from the recycling division. The vehicle at this point has no overall value. It's got engine issues, multiple oil leaks, and a rusted frame. Similar to that, the next item, which is from the Solid Waste Division, is to declare truck SW61 as surplus. Again, engine issues, multiple leaks, a rusted rear bed, and a dead starter. No overall value to the vehicle.
Sounds like what I drove when I was 17.
And then lastly,
Had
Mayor,
cars back then?
lastly on the agenda tonight, as the Deputy Mayor mentioned during her report, is the 2025 annual report from the Zoning Board of Adjustment. They've made 4 recommendations that I would recommend to the council. Gets referred back to the ordinance working group. It's actually on the agenda for Monday afternoon. But they are looking to specify materials and increase the space between vertical bars for front yard fences. They're looking for the village to prepare and adopt standards relative to the potential placement of billboards that include objective conditional use requirements that consider impacts on residential properties, corridor view shields, et cetera. That is something that we do want to discuss with Matt about the potential liability of completely restricting billboards in the village and the legal consequences of that. Item 3 is to review the lot area and width requirements throughout the village's residential zones. And the last is consideration of updating home office uses. The ordinance regulating home offices was adopted back in 2004 and contains standards that are outdated in the context of a modern home office environment, especially in light of COVID. So those are the 4 issues that we'll be vetting through the ordinance working group on Monday relative to the annual report from the zoning board.
And that's going to be reviewed by the ordinance working group.
I think we start there because we're going to need some legal input. We're going to need input from John Barry, our planner. And I even had proposed, and this is something we can talk about on Monday, to Pam, the possibility of maybe creating a subgroup of the ordinance working group on this that would include members of the planning board, because you receive this report from the zoning board, comes to the council. If the council changes any zoning ordinances, it then needs to get moved over to the planning board for comments and recommendation between introduction and adoption. Then it comes back to the council for adoption. So there's a lot of hands in this as it goes through the process if there are going to be any considered changes.
This is a really well-done report, by the way. I very much like the way this is laid out.
Yep.
At the planning board last night, we had a long discussion about these 4 items, and with regard to the fences, they felt that we should just leave it alone because
Thank you.
the impetus here is the aesthetics, and it's not so much safety or anything else. It's just they don't like the large diameter vinyl fences, and a couple members on the board felt that performance is more important than materials. And with regard to the billboard ordinance, they thought it was exactly as Matt found it to be, that we need to look at it at the ordinance working group. With regard to number 3, they thought the study should focus first on where are the applications coming from. That there are a lot of applications from homes that are on lots that are just not compliant with the zone that they're in, because they're too small already. So of course, anything they want to do on the property is going to end up in front of the zoning board. And so where are those concentrated? Are they in a couple pockets in town? Then that's what we should be looking at, rather than legislating for the whole town, because we could be creating more problems than solving them.
And I think we're going to need to bring the board secretary into that conversation and the zoning officer into that conversation so that they can go back over, let's say, the last 3 to 5 years, look at where those applications are coming from by neighborhood, and then report back that information to the ordinance working group.
Yeah, and
That might be something Neil can actually help us with too, from a GIS standpoint.
And I think if you identify the zone that they're in, because more than likely they're in one of the residential zones, you can set up standards that apply for certain properties that have a lot area of X, and the standards go to that, and lot area of greater than X up to a certain point. So there's different ways of approaching it. But you're right, don't make it village-wide, just deal with the locations or the zones that they're in.
And then with regard to home offices, just so the public knows, there was an ordinance for many years about home offices, and it was like where you have a doorway from the garage and you're anticipating people coming to the home and that home office, and where are they going to park, and that sort of thing. Now, after COVID, with everybody just working at home at their dining room table, it's a different animal, and maybe there should be a more sensitive treatment of home offices. So I think it is time to look at that ordinance and bring it up to date. So.
Yeah, Pam, I'm happy to hear that the planning board did not like the fences, because there's a whole thing about neurodivergent families put those fences up, especially the thick ones, so their kids don't elope. No.
It's elopement. So when you have a child, that was one concern.
Yeah,
And as they begin to move the distance, the smaller child can squeak through. So elopement is the term for wandering. It's a serious issue, which is, obviously the number one cause of death to a neurodivergent child in New Jersey is drowning, because when they do elope, they seek water. So people who have taken the burden of putting a fence in, if we start to move the distance between them, a kid could get through.
Yeah.
Equally, outside of the access issue, is also dogs. If it doesn't have the function that a fence to stop, people have been complaining about that. And I think it's funny that number one's the first one that went, and I love all the other ones, but
Yeah.
I think we should leave the fences alone as well.
Yeah, I really do for this. There's a family that I know specifically, so I just am, for the safety reasons, it's silly.
Good.
Also, I wanted to thank Sammy Thomas, who did the analysis that's behind this. You have that in your packet. I was surprised to see that so many of the applications in front of the zoning board are granted. they're approved on condition, and what the secretary and other people on the board explained to me last night is some people, after coming before the zoning board, get suggestions from board members of try it this way, try it that way. So they go away and they come back with a revised version, maybe once, maybe twice. And many of them realize that just from the conversation that's happening on the board there, they're just going to walk away. They're not going to look for a denial or an approval. And I didn't realize that that's how the zoning board works. So that's why you see in Sammy's analysis so many approvals.
Sammy is a terrific find. We're fortunate to have him on the planning
Yes, indeed.
board. Anybody else?
Mayor, that concludes my portion of the agenda.
Let's go back to public comment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Michael No, Ridgewood resident. There was a comment earlier from one of the gentlemen who called in on hybrid access, and his comment was something like, the advantage of turf fields is that they're used 3,000 hours a year. So I did a little math, and I don't think that's actually possible. If you subtract the winter months, rain days, the time that kids are in school, that would equate to over 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I don't think that's actually possible. The next thing is, I was at the recycling center. I usually go there, once every other week. And very friendly guy helped me, and it turned out it was Sean, the head of the recycling center. I didn't realize it when he said hello to me. And then the last thing I wanted to ask about is, I know I had spoken to Mr. Kasmark about the major silt problem in the Saddle River down by Grove Street, and he was very kind. He sent someone out, they took pictures, and it's, pretty well blocked off. And Mr. Kasmark said that there was money in the budget for scooping out the silt, I guess. And I'm just wondering if there's any time frame on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Hi, it's Carol again. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Carol. We know you, but we need your full name and just whether you're a
Carol
resident.
Maloney.
Resident or non-resident?
Resident.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. And I'm happily inviting someone to come to the next HILT meeting, or whatever HILT meeting it is, that you could come and explain our new little parking permit and how we can do all it and et cetera. Thanks so much.
I'll be there.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Boyd A. Loving, Ridgewood resident. Councilwoman Winograd mentioned tonight about the events for the soccer. I just point out that one of those events is taking place on Juneteenth. I don't know if the village is sponsoring it or any village employees are going to be required to be there, but I'll remind you that that is a holiday. Village Hall is closed that day. I'm somewhat surprised that an event has been scheduled on that day. If it's a private event, of course, it's a private event. But if it's being sponsored by the village and any village employees are required to be there, I'm sort of surprised and disappointed that it is being scheduled on Juneteenth on a holiday. On another subject, you may recall a few weeks ago I commented about the ongoing legal wrangle with Valley Hospital, and I know that you can't comment on it at all, but I will point this out. I'm a bit concerned that the database where you can look up tax records and where you can look up tax payments that the village, I guess, maintains through an outside provider, that the property at 223 North Van Deen Avenue has been removed from that database. So there is no public access to any records concerning taxes paid, owed, assessment values on that property through that database. I did a quick search of all, well, not all, but of some other not-for-profits, including the church that I'm a member of, that Father Thomas was here tonight, and I find that it seems to be every other property that I checked that is not-for-profit, that doesn't pay taxes, is in the database. So I'm somewhat concerned that the database has been manipulated to remove that one taxpayer, and I'm wondering why it was done, or do you even know it was done? That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boyd.
Good evening again, Ann Loving, Ridgewood resident. A number of weeks ago, I brought up the subject about the garbage cans in town and how these $60,000 garbage cans with the lid over them don't seem to be working well. And Councilwoman Winograd stated unequivocally that open garbage cans that don't have a lid would become way, way too heavy if rainwater went into them and would present an injury situation, I believe, you know, that employees could be injured if they had to lift such heavy bags. Subsequently, I sent 2 or 3 emails to Councilwoman Winograd pointing out that there are a number of those open garbage cans in town, including in Van Nest, and saying, you know, if it is truly a dangerous situation that the workers could be injured trying to lift such a heavy bag, why do we have any of them? I mean, I don't want anybody to be injured. And I received responses from the councilwoman, but the answers were circuitous and did not explain why, if, as she says, they are just hazardous, why we have any of them. And I wish I could get an answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Anybody else? Seeing no one in the audience, we're going to go to our hybrid access. Cynthia, you're up.
Good evening, Cynthia O'Keefe. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Cynthia.
Okay, I meant to say Cynthia O'Keefe, Ridgewood resident. I just wanted to clarify a point that was made by Mr. Hallaby. You know, he talks about the hours of healthy playtime on artificial turf. This would be artificial turf next to a highway that also has toxic particulates coming off of it. And, you know, I don't look at Rurik as a pseudo-intellectual. I think at times he's made some very smart remarks, but when he talks about turf, doesn't make any sense. His numbers are skewed. The facts he presents are, you know, fallacy. And he said, you know, he knows more about Shedler and cared more about the Shedler property than anybody. So I actually am surprised that he would advocate for this, but I do believe he was a financial backer to your reelection, so, or at least that's my understanding. So I believe he feels he has to support that investment by, you know, being in favor of things that you're in favor of. But I do want to remind him that it's not just about the artificial turf next to the private wells. There are key health and environmental dangers which have been documented. Toxic chemical exposure, PFAS and forever chemicals. You just talked this evening about going to NJIT and doing a panel with Keith and Mayor Vagianos on how great Ridgewood is doing with getting PFAS out of the water, but yet you'll turn around and do the very same thing to those residents. So I don't understand that logic whatsoever. There is a heat island effect. So artificial turf absorbs significantly more heat than natural grass, creating surface temperatures that become very high and could cause skin burns. There's also huge concern over microplastic and particle inhalation. Not only that, but also microplastic pollution. Turf fields shed hundreds of pounds per year. So where are those microplastics going to go? Onto the neighbors' properties? Is that okay with you? There's also disruption of ecosystems. So the installation of turf removes natural habitats for whether it's insects, pollinators, birds. So you're doing no mow May or slow mow May and putting these little cute little signs on people's front lawns, but yet this is completely contradictory. And I believe Frank Mortimer ran on a platform that was supposed, other towns were going to look up to Ridgewood as a beacon of environmental, stewardship, what's happening with that? I mean, this is like,
Time is up.
so, you know, there are so many reasons. It's not just about poisoning the water. Yes, that is a major concern.
Cynthia, your time is up. Thank you very much. Amy, you're up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Amy McCambridge, Ridgewood resident. I just had like a couple people message me during all of this and thanking, you know, me and others for speaking out because they're scared to speak out to the council. People have been bullied at the meetings. I wasn't there when any of this happened. However, I do understand completely why with Ms. Winograd, when you're willing to use your position of power to go after my nonprofit that prioritizes environmental stewardship on federal public lands, protects these American Mustangs, we work with combat veterans and trauma victims, is so disgusting that you use your position of power.
Yeah. Point of order, Paul, because our Section 320 of our code requires enforcement of decorum, and I ask that it be enforced.
Yeah, Amy, you can't go after a particular council member, okay? So you can refer to the council in general, but not go after a particular council member.
Well, okay, then the council, which you guys were probably in all of this, I see why people are whatever, but that was such a low blow, what you guys did. And while all of this is happening, we are under a drought warning. And with Green Ridgewood speaking, like I got, like you guys did nothing, like literally nothing. If you wanna help the floods, replace, just like Mayor Vaggiano said, it makes sense, you go back to grass. That will help the flooding. But let's not do that. We're being told to conserve water while waterways are being contaminated in Ridgewood. Like, how embarrassing. We have 3 turf fields contaminated with PFAS. Ecosystems are being destroyed, and the artificial turf fields continue flooding chemicals and microplastics into our rivers and streams. And then we have our green team being like, what do we do about it? One day our children are going to ask what we were thinking. They're going to ask why we poison the water that once carried life, why we cut down forests older than ourselves, why we replace living ecosystems with plastic and chemicals. And if they truly understood what was stolen for them, because that's exactly what you're doing, they would be devastated. Not just the trees, not the land, but the species disappearing quietly. More to more, the bees, the pollinators, while adults argue about property values, convenience, politics, profit, and even more ridiculous, Pam, about how the elderly are going to scheme like the tickets, like insane. The bats that protected entire ecosystem, the pollinators vanishing from the fields, turtles, foxes, fish, I could go on and on and on. Life forms that hold nature together in ways that most people will never even take the time to understand. Children still understand. They wonder. They stop for the butterflies. They hear life in the forest, and they believe rivers are supposed to be alive. And meanwhile, you guys, the grown adults, poison the waterways, flatten habitats, flood rivers with contaminants, and stand under Earth Day banners on a turf carpet and say you care about the planet while you actively destroy behind closed doors. And for what? More money, more status, another synthetic field, another photo op pretending that you care about the environmental leaders while ecosystems collapse around you?
Time is up. Time is up.
Okay.
Thank
I
you,
just want
Amy.
to end with, the history will remember the difference between the people who fought for the living world and you guys who sold it.
Thank you, Amy. Rurik, you're up.
Rurik Halaby, village resident. Yes, I have made contributions to every one of you. And you know something? My contribution, my investment is in the future of Ridgewood. And having lived in Ridgewood for 56 years, I have never felt better than to see the 5 of you at the dais working so hard for the good for all of us. Compared to previous administrations, it's like night and day. Now, to those who talk about Shedler, let me remind the commentator I fought against the berm, and I was there by myself. I've heard me say this before. When the berm was done on the sly and on the cheap, when the Shedler was turned into a dump with these huge piles of dirt, I was the one who fought it. I was the guy who fought the copper gutters on the Shedler house. None of you have copper gutters on your houses, etc. And so I'm proud of what I have done. Anyway, let me just say to the 5 of you, keep up a good work. You are looking after Ridgewood. You are looking after our future. And yes, one more turf field isn't going to do the difference, big difference between night and day. So keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rurik. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment and entertain a resolution. Oh, excuse me, I do it every time. Would anybody like to respond to any of the comments made this evening?
Yes.
Sorry.
Nobody on this council has used their position of power to go after your business, your nonprofit, your horse refuge. Nobody on this dais has done that. And I object to an unfounded allegation that any of us have done that. I also object to the implication that we act for more money for our own personal gain. I would wager that that is also unfounded. That's all I have to say right now.
You know, there are a few things I think all 5 of us agree on, but what Pam just said are 2 of them that we all absolutely agree on. It is really sad when we use our position as citizens to attack those that have been elected to power. Siobhan, I don't believe a word anybody's saying. I take it as an insult to us all when any one of us is called out unfairly the way I think Strawn has been, and there's just simply no place for that in a civilized society. As to money, I guarantee you all 5 of us probably lose money in this job. Guaranteed. So the idea that somehow we're getting rich being council people, it's, I don't know if it's more preposterous or more sad in its statement.
Yeah, and I will say, as I've said before, Siobhan Winograd is the hardest working member of this council. She gets more done than probably any 3 of us. And I am grateful that she serves on this council with us, and she would never, ever attack anyone the way she has been attacked.
Mayor, if I may?
By all means.
Yes. In regard to some of the allegations that were made, or accusations, I should say, that were made, I think I need to straighten out a few things for the record, because these have been made on social media as well as public statements before this council during meetings. Back in around November 6th or thereabouts of 2025, Siobhan called me and she said that someone had just dropped off a letter in her mailbox making certain allegations against the Unbridled Heroes Project in terms of the way they operate and do certain things. She provided me with a copy of the letter at that date. I read it. It had allegations, and it was anonymous. It was not signed or identified as who the author was, but it was identified as somebody who had worked at this location before, worked at the Unbridled Heroes Project and made allegations. I told Siobhan not to do anything with it other than to provide it to the police department, because it was not within her jurisdiction, not within the council's jurisdiction to do anything about it. We don't know the veracity of it. We don't know whether or not someone has a vendetta or something different than that, but it should just be provided to the police department so they could decide to do it. The Ridgewood Police Department doesn't have jurisdiction over such facilities as was alleged, or such issues as was alleged in the letter, and they turned it over to the proper authorities to decide what to do with it. We heard through the grapevine or through the police department that an investigation was done and that the investigation was completed, that there was nothing found to be wrong, but in any event, the recipient of the letter was the amount of work that, or amount of effort that Siobhan had in this whole thing. Someone felt comfortable enough with Siobhan to give that to her to alert the authorities in one way or the other of a problem that they thought they had. And whether or not it was personal, whether or not it was professional or anything else, we have no idea. But at my direction, it was turned over to the authorities. When you see something like that, you have to turn it over to authorities and let them decide what to do with it, because the council doesn't have any jurisdiction. And as the attorney for the council, it is not something that we would get involved in or investigate or look at any more than just getting the letter to the authority, to the enforcement authority within the village. That was the extent of it. There was nothing else done, nothing else sought out, and the conclusion of that is something that we have never really even been informed of. So what could have happened, other than the accusations that have been made, never happened, and simply just transferred and communicated that communication over to the police department. That was it. That's all that was done. In that regard, I'm hoping, and if anybody has any questions about it, they can discuss it with me in terms of the involvement. I'll be open to discuss it with them, but if anybody has any questions about it, they can certainly contact me at any time to discuss it.
Anybody else?
On any other topic?
Sure. Anything.
Yeah, okay. Boyd, I can't use my phone, we don't use our phones on the dais while we're in session, but come to me afterwards. I want to check the tax payment
I
site.
have a response to that.
Oh, okay, fine.
Just a few issues, Mayor. First, with regard to Mr. No's inquiry about the flood mitigation project, we're probably looking at fall. We had a tremendous meeting, which I did not report on, with NJIT last week. They are on the ground here in Ridgewood. They are actually going to be installing cameras and some other monitoring devices to help us with flood mitigation efforts. So at James' request, he's asked that we allow NJIT to get on the ground, start their preliminary investigation before we decide exactly what areas along the Hohokus Brook we're going to do that flood mitigation project. We do have the Streets Division out currently and the Parks Division out identifying trees that are in danger of falling where they fell subject to erosion or anything of that nature. So we're doing the preliminary work, but we also want to coordinate with NJIT before we put the scope of work together and therefore the specifications. So that's that. Mr. Loving, with regard to the soccer event, the 3 soccer associations in town, the Maroons, RSA, and RASA, requested use of the park during the World Cup tournament. So while we were up here, I do have my phone up here, there are 4 matches on June 19th, which were obviously scheduled by the folks who run the World Cup. But the USA is playing against Australia, Scotland and Morocco, Brazil and Haiti, and Turkey and Paraguay. So there are 4 matches that night, which is, I think, why they aligned the request to use Van Ness Square for that event on Juneteenth, just because of the night that the matches are scheduled. In addition, the former Valley Hospital property on Van Deen, I can't get into the litigation matter, but finance was directed by our special legal counsel on that to make that adaptation to the tax platform online. So that was done at the request of our special legal counsel. To Ms. O'Keefe, Cynthia, again, I just want to extend the invitation to sit down with you and your neighbors, with Rich Calby and Ridgewood Water. I know we heard tonight a lot of the concerns that you've continued to express about the well water. I just want to again extend a meeting to talk about the possibility of hooking up to Ridgewood Water and having a conversation about what that expense would look like and what Ridgewood Water could do to be helpful in that space. Rich is open to that conversation. We're also open to monitoring and reviewing any well water tests that residents in that area have privately conducted, and Ridgewood Water is willing to do an evaluation of any of those test results. I don't believe we've received any recently relative to that. And that's all I have, Mayor.
I have 2 things. I don't want to get into the hours of playable time, but I did want to highlight several things about our existing turf fields. They are playable in the rain, and one of the things why they're used so much in northern communities, including like colleges that play, is that we do plow them in the cases of excessive snow. So I'm not going to get into the math off of the utilization of the field, but turf does. Where our grass fields this week were closed due to the rain, the maple fields remained open. So that's just some information. Additionally, with the World Cup event, they were very warm on the idea of watching USA games. So the USA teams, then they wanted to make sure the kids could see it. So June 19th was picked because, one, the USA is playing. All of the USA's home games are in California, and some start earlier. So they did have that discussion. We had it at Fields, and everybody felt that it would be a good celebration and, a chance to celebrate. Mrs. Loving, with respect to the emails, I really did, in our back and forth, try to answer all your questions. I can't quote it, but the garbage can image that you sent me the day after we talked about the street cans was a park garbage can, and I believe, I don't have it in front of me, I said different cans have different equipment and different pickup. So the Parks Department was added into it, as was our supervisor. So a street can, they have to get out of the truck, go get it, get the garbage bag. We have equipment that drives up to a park can and picks up the garbage bag, so there's less distance, less lifting. So, and there's also a less frequent schedule, so you won't have the same volume. I do just want to say that council doesn't pick the garbage cans, and this was the message of the email. The prior garbage cans were falling apart. They ceased to exist. They were blowing away down the streets of Ridgewood, and we needed new ones. The combination of police, due to the bomb blast, which is why we don't have the stone ones, sanitation, parks, and signal came. And just to give you an idea, each individual garbage can, I think, was $650, and we needed about 100 of them. So the simple answer that I put in there with the images is Parks has a different schedule, different volume, and a different method of picking up. So, and I believe I included all the supervisors on my response to you. I didn't want to get too much into workplace and safety, but they were all on that. Should you have any other questions about their methods? But when you see the little park cart, they pull up right there.
Another vehicle I'd like to try to drive on.
You want.
Anybody else? All good. Let's have a resolution to go into closed session.
Be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on May 6, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter on the agenda can be reached. And the said closed session be held in the caucus room on the fourth floor of the Ridgewood Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey. Be it further resolved that the matter to be discussed in closed session is limited to personnel matters to include FMBA negotiations. This matter is allowable under NJSA 10:4-12 and be it further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.